Summary of Chapter 7 of *Sapiens*. A Brief History of Humankind, Memory Overload. In Chapter 7, Yuval Noah Harari explains how human societies became too large and complicated for the human brain alone to manage. As civilizations expanded after the agricultural revolution, humans needed new systems to store, organize, and process information. This chapter focuses on the limits of human memory, the invention of writing, bureaucracy, mathematics, and record-keeping, how information systems transformed civilization. Harari argues that writing and data organization changed history by allowing humans to build massive societies, governments, and empires. 1. The problem of information. Hunter-gatherers lived in small groups where information was simple and personal. People mainly needed to remember family relationships, hunting locations, local traditions, survival skills. But after agriculture, societies became far more complex. Large kingdoms needed to track taxes, land ownership, trade laws, armies, population records. The human brain alone could no longer handle such enormous amounts of information. 2. Human memory has limits. Harari explains that the human brain evolved for small communities, not giant civilizations. Humans can remember faces, stories, social relationships, but they struggle with large quantities of numbers, detailed administrative records, massive databases. As societies expanded, humans required external memory systems. 3. The birth of writing emerged as a solution to information overload. The earliest writing systems developed in places like Mesopotamia, Egypt. At first, writing was not used for literature or poetry. Instead, it mainly tracked grain supplies, taxes, property, trade transactions. Writing began as an administrative tool for Sumerian writing. Harari discusses the ancient Sumerians, who developed one of the earliest writing systems around 3500 BCE. The Sumerians used symbols on clay tablets to record economic information. For example, number of sheep, amount of grain, trade records. This allowed governments and merchants to manage increasingly complex societies. 5. Writing changed human thinking. Writing transformed the way humans organized knowledge. Oral cultures depended on memory and storytelling. Written systems allowed permanent records, complex laws, long-distance administration, historical archives. Knowledge could now survive beyond individual lifetimes. 6. Bureaucracy and administration. Large states require bureaucracy. Bureaucracies organize society through rules, documents, classifications, records. Harari explains that bureaucratic systems may seem boring, but they are essential for large civilizations. Without record keeping, empires could not collect taxes, armies could not function, trade networks would collapse. 7. The logic of bureaucracy. Bureaucracies simplify reality into categories. For example, governments classify people by name, age, property, nationality, occupation. This simplification helps administration but may ignore human individuality. Harari argues that bureaucratic thinking often prioritizes efficiency over personal complexity. 8. Mathematics as a language. Mathematics became one of civilization's most important tools. Numbers allow humans to measure resources, calculate taxes, track trade, organize labor. Harari says mathematics created a universal language for administration and science. 9. The power of data. As civilizations grew, data became increasingly important. Governments needed accurate information about population size, food production, military strength, economic activity. The ability to collect and organize information became a major source of power. 10. Writing created large empires. Writing allowed rulers to govern vast territories. Messages could travel across kingdoms through documents, orders, legal records. This enabled centralized governments, complex legal systems, organized taxation. Empires became more stable because information could be preserved and transmitted efficiently. 11. Written laws. Writing also transformed law. Oral traditions can change over time, but written laws create consistency. Written legal systems define rules clearly, standardize punishment, strengthen governments. Harari explains that written laws help societies become more organized and predictable. 12. Human beings became data. One important idea in the chapter is that bureaucracies often treat humans like entries in a system. People become numbers, records, categories. For example, a government may view citizens mainly through tax records, identification, numbers, legal status. This makes administration efficient, but can reduce individuality. 13. Education and standardization. Writing eventually influenced education. Schools taught people reading, writing, arithmetic, administrative skills. Civilizations increasingly valued standardization because large systems require predictable behavior. 14. Specialized knowledge. Writing allowed knowledge to become highly specialized. People no longer needed to memorize everything personally. Experts developed in areas such as law, religion, mathematics, administration, science. Civilization became increasingly dependent on specialists. 15. Oral cultures versus written cultures. Harari compares oral and written societies. Oral cultures depend on memory, preserve knowledge through stories and traditions. Emphasize flexibility. Written cultures store large amounts of information, enable complex organization, encourage precision and standardization. Writing increased human power, but also changed how people think. 16. The impact on human consciousness. Writing reshaped the human mind. People increasingly thought through lists, records, categories, systems. Complex societies encouraged analytical and bureaucratic thinking. Harari suggests modern humans often adapt themselves to fit information systems rather than the reverse. 17. Computers and modern information systems. Although the chapter mainly discusses ancient writing, Harari connects it to modern technology. Today humans rely on computers, databases, algorithms, artificial intelligence. Modern societies process unimaginable amounts of information. Harari suggests humanity has become increasingly dependent on information systems. 18. The double-edged nature of information systems. Information systems create enormous power, but they also create risks. Benefits include organization, efficiency, knowledge preservation, scientific progress, but dangers include loss of individuality, excessive control, bureaucratic rigidity, dependence on system. Civilization becomes more powerful, yet more complicated. 19. The invention of fictional realities continues. Harari returns to one of the book's major themes. Humans cooperate through shared imagined systems. Writing strengthened these systems by preserving laws, religious texts, political ideas, economic records. Written documents gave imagined orders greater stability and authority. 20. Human cooperation expanded further with writing and bureaucracy. Humans could cooperate on unprecedented scales. Millions of strangers could now participate in empires, trade networks, religious systems, legal systems. Writing became one of humanity's greatest organizational tools. Main themes of Chapter 71. Human memory is limited. Large civilizations required external information systems too. Writing revolutionized society. Writing enabled administration, law, trade, and empire building. 3. Bureaucracy organizes civilization. Large societies depend on classification and record keeping. 4. Information equals power. The ability to collect and process data became essential for governments and economies. 5. Civilization changes human thinking. Information systems reshape how humans view themselves and the world. Important concepts explained simply. Why was writing invented? Primarily to manage economic and administrative information. What is bureaucracy? A system of administration based on rules, records, and organization. Why is writing important? It allows information to survive beyond human memory. How do information systems affect people? They organize society efficiently, but may reduce individuality. Lessons from the Chapter 1. Civilization depends on information management. Large societies cannot function without organized records. 2. Writing transformed human history. It allowed laws, trade, science, and empires to develop. 3. Data creates power. Those who control information often control society. 4. Technology changes human thinking. Information systems shape how humans understand reality. Conclusion. Chapter 7 of Sapiens. A Brief History of Humankind explores how writing and bureaucracy enabled the rise of complex civilizations. Yuval Noah Harari explains that as societies became larger, humans needed systems to store and organize information beyond the limits of memory. The chapter shows how writing created stable governments and legal systems. Bureaucracies organized millions of people. Mathematics and records became tools of power. Information systems transformed civilization. Most importantly, the chapter reveals that human history is not only shaped by weapons or kings, but also by something less dramatic yet incredibly powerful: the ability to record, organize, and control information.